Is it working?
Mm-hmm.
Radio 0.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Friday, June 10th.
You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, other streamers, Google Podcasts. Go to radiozero.us. We're live streaming on Facebook, on the Radio Zero page, and on the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. We usually live stream on Fridays. Time variable.
Yeah, because you never know who you're going to be talking to on the phone, or reading email from like 5 minutes before we start with Radio Zero.
You can patronize it.
Screaming at them.
You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio0.
Rick has a slight echo.
Thank you for all of your patronage. Well, I don't know why I have an echo.
It's because I was right before this. I was like, I was yelling about something, and Rick is like Laszlo Hollifeld in Real Genius. Please, I don't work under pressure. Larry likes the 5 o'clock start time the best. See, I knew it. I knew you did, Larry. I knew we would get more people at 5 o'clock.
Still an echo?
Let us know if there's still an echo, Dannon.
It was just me, though, huh? Did you have your audio on your laptop?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm changing things, but I never know what I have to change to fix it.
Are you switching some of the dials?
So I could be making it worse.
A bit of an echo, he says.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I'm gonna. And they say it's still there. I'm gonna lose my shit. I've just been directoring now. That's all. That's like, you know what being a director is all about? Being able to explain things well, and I didn't explain things well. I think that's what happened. That to my higher ups. But now they understand because somebody higher up than me explained it to them, and now they understand. So I didn't explain myself well. Are you trying to fix that? I'm just trying to calm down from like a, All right, let's see. So let's move on, shall we? Let me just what happened before that. So I've been. Tim Bowers is in Estonia. That's good. How are you in all these? Are you just like, what was that called? Are you telnetting, Tim, to all these places and listening in from there? And Larry says the echo doesn't really bother him. Okay.
Well, it bothers me because it means something's wrong.
But you can't hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's recording. So anyone who's not. Oh, wow. Did I just kill OBS? Is it still there? Okay,
I thought you were going to
there.
say that you killed Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So there was something important to talk about, but I can't remember what it is.
It wasn't the July or the January 6th hearings, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, go ahead.
The Republicans, say that this is all. Oh, Larry says no echo now. Great, you fixed it. They say that this trial thing that they're showing on the weekend, right? On what was it, Thursday night, primetime TV Thursday night. They say that this is all a publicity stunt. And they're right, of course. It's just another publicity stunt, right?
Well, I think that's the problem with these ideas of, you're playing politics. You're using like Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers. No, Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, and earlier Beto O'Rourke, saying stuff, and it's kind of like if our whole sort of culture is based on fame and communication through social media platforms, right? And if the whole economy is based around how much money you have, and then the only other thing of value is followers or fame, right? There are only two currencies now, right? Which is wealth and fame. Then yeah, I think it's right to have people saying stuff and to be playing politics, because what is politics? It's the process of representing, right, your beliefs and asserting your beliefs and using whatever power you're given or have to assert those beliefs in how the world should be, right? And how our society should be structured, right? And so if you've got for instance, a network or a TV dinner magnet inheritor, right? Heir to a TV dinner fortune, right?
Who's that? Who's the heir to
Tucker
the TV?
Carlson. It's
Oh,
unfair
okay.
to say that, but why not? I can say that if I want.
I'm not going to say that Tucker Carlson is the heir to the TV dinner throne.
He's connected to the Swanson family, but I don't think he
I'm not going to say
necessarily has any of that money anymore. But he came from a position of privilege and has a bully pulpit, which he manipulates, a huge number of people's perspectives, plays politics constantly. So, yeah,
they're a good band, Bully Pulpit. So I see Tim Bowers here says, hi, Heidi, and then writes Mercy Rules. But I don't see, how do you know that is Heidi listening? That'd be so cool. Is there a way to find out who's listening? I can only see who's listening when they write on here, I think.
So yeah, I and the other thing is I did not watch the primetime special because I spent a nightmare couple of weeks of my life editing all that footage from January 6th to accompany
there's Heidi.
a piece of music.
Yeah.
And so I'm fully aware of how awful those events were. And it's good, though, to be reminded, because I think that's the problem, is that everything moves so quickly, right? Me talking about Matthew McConaughey already feels old, right? And me talking about Beto O'Rourke saying something about it seems like ancient history. And that was 2 weeks ago, right?
All right, so not knowing...
The event,
yeah.
the shootings were 2 weeks ago. January 6th was, almost a year and a half ago. And people are saying, oh, that's old news, right?
Yeah, it's nice that we are like kind of like Throwback Thursday, like little Throwback Friday. Like, what happened 2 weeks ago? Oh, a bunch of people got shot. Oh, okay.
And I don't know if I complained about this, but some local politician who's running for office here, said maybe that's the price of freedom in response to 19 children being slaughtered, is like maybe that's the price of freedom. And so that, I think, is where it all breaks down, where it's like somebody who's completely bypassed their humanity in order to just be a funnel for talking points, right? And so that to me is someone who's not even expressing any kind of thought process, right? They're just regurgitating talking points, which is a criticism, right? Oh, you're regurgitating talking points, and it's like a zombie cult that's saying these things, and it's like, if I'm going to say something like that, maybe that's the price of freedom, and if I'm again going to play politics, or I'm going to run for office because I'm not a politician, then what I would like to see is actual thought, where it's like when you say something in reaction to a mass shooting and you say maybe that's the price of freedom, then I would like you to then explain to me why the price of freedom is 19 children, and why is the price of freedom all these things, right? And it's like, oh, you got to break some eggs, right? It's and that's what we're reduced to.
Because so they need to show the dead children covered with blood and spattered and like dismembered by the gun on the TV set. They need to show that. I'm all for that now. Because that's reality. That's fucking reality.
Yeah.
That's what you get. That's the because if that's playing politics to show that. Larry's writing. Do you remember when primetime specials usually consisted of airings of Charlie Brown or The Wizard of Oz,
or like a James Bond movie?
Or a James Bond movie, yeah. All right. Well, we don't have to go into the horrible. We don't have to talk about that. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we went to the vegetarian vegan restaurant opening
Oh
today.
yeah, that's very exciting. So how many vegetarian vegan restaurants do we have in this town where like it's not like, like what
3.
yeah, I was going to
I
say,
think now,
like
at
when you
least.
look up vegetarian food, and you get Olive Garden, on your local, vegetarian food near me, and Olive Garden comes up because you can get vegetarian food at Olive Garden. We actually have, Tyler says someone stole his yarn, or their yarn. We actually have 3 vegetarian/vegan restaurants in the town now. It's so cool. And this one came out, this was Under the Ground Blono, it's called, which I think Blono is the worst. I wouldn't have moved here. Like when I heard somebody call it Blono, I was like, no.
There is something worse.
Shampoo banana.
Shampoo banana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Blono.
So there's something wrong with us.
And so
Blono sounds like a blowjob.
And crossword puzzle people, of course, there's NOLA, right, for New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Also, what else? Like calling Westerns odors, which I don't think anyone since 1930 has called a Western an odor, but it's still in the New York Times crossword puzzle. So, sorry.
Danny
Puzzle
says
talk.
not that I'm advocating violence, but I wouldn't mind if somebody exercised their freedom with him. Yeah.
And so that was what was that? Somebody wrote sent thoughts and prayers to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, right? Because there was a guy who's going to try to shoot him, right, and got caught. And so yeah, I my worry is that it is unraveling, right? I mean, it is. I'm worried. Again, I'm always worried, but maybe this time it's going to be real.
So okay.
Oh yeah, so let's tell our story today.
Oh my God! So we went to Under the Ground Blono, and so this was a food preparation service that started. I think it started in the during the pandemic, right? Did this start? Were they doing this before?
I don't
we don't
know
know when it
the
started.
timeline,
Look it up.
Yeah.
But then they
Don't look it
decided,
up. It's not important.
Yeah, don't look it up. But then they decided to make a bricks and mortar place where you could go. So we've been like on social media, we've been hearing that it's going to open, and then and anytime a restaurant opens in this, I get it, yarn reference unraveling. He needs yarn. Okay, thanks, Tyler. That's like a like a deep. I'm not
It's
there. I'm
French-
still
the
I'm
French
still
lady's not
like
even
I'm
on that one.
French ladies gone out to lunch right now. French lady has drank alcohol. So anytime a restaurant opens in this town, and this town has got like the highest number of restaurants per capita or something, right?
Not anymore. I think we're number 2.
We're number 2, but before that. So this is a small town. It's like a small,
It's not that small. It's 150,000 people in the area.
Okay, all right. So that's what we have. So like a couple of colleges.
I think
State
we
Farm.
qualify. I think we qualify as an exurb, even though we are very far away from Chicago.
We're
I think we do qualify as an exurb.
And we're like 100, maybe 120 miles away from Chicago, maybe 150, something like that. Between 120, depending on what part of Chicago.
Plate movements.
Depending on on what Chicago. Anyway, but outside when you drive out of town, there's nothing. Kind of like it's a lot. It's cornfields. We're in the middle. We're a city in the middle of the cornfield. So anytime something opens, like the Portillo's opened here, and people went ape shit. There were like lines around, like traffic light bouncers, and like lines for weeks. There were like triple lane lines for forever around these things. Right, 90 minutes to Chicago. Not by plane, maybe. Anyway, so they rightly decided to offer tickets to their soft opening, right? Or just kind of have signups. And we got, this is like, what is that movie with the golden egg? Not the golden egg, but this is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Golden ticket.
We got a golden ticket, from Dairy King's, girlfriend, who's, got us on the list. She got us on the guest list. So we got to, we got to go today. So we walked in, and it's the old Garcias, which was the old Flingers or something like that. It's,
yeah, when they said Flingers, I was like, oh, was it Flingers the first time we went to it, or was it even something before that? It's been a couple of places.
It's
a few places.
It's a restaurant like in the middle of downtown Bloomington, you know. So like next to it, there's two head shops. Is that what you call it? A head shop?
Not in the 21st century.
Okay, what do you call it?
A smoke shop.
Smoke shop. There's a smoke shop next door. There's like maybe tattoo. I can't remember if there's tattoo. There's a hair cutting place. There's an upholstery place. But it's right near all the bars, and it's right down, right on Main Street. We have, this town has got a beautiful little Main Street that goes up one direction and down the other direction, and big old brick buildings. It's gorgeous. Really, it's a really nice area in the middle of town.
Original part of Route 66.
Yes, yeah, original, exactly. That tells you exactly what it's like. And there's art galleries all around there and stuff like that. So it's a great area. So we went in there. We ordered I got a vegan croissant with a tuna, smashed chickpea tuna instead of tuna, because, there's always chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you get?
I got a taco salad.
Yeah.
Without any meat.
And then we
real
went
meat with artificial meat and artificial cheese.
Right.
I really I've always liked taco salads, but they're really hard to eat without the dairy and the meat. But they had it.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Oh, and the vegan croissant was great. I think it was maybe from Central Illinois Bakehouse. Again, I'm talking things that I don't know, but I did see a post that they were affiliated with them. Anyway, we went in, we ordered our food, and we went and we sat down near the windows so we could see out onto the street. We were watching the street. We were watching people walk by on the street. And so we saw people going, and we were like, oh, are those people coming in here? I don't know.
Who's going to the steak and ale place? Who's going to the vegan restaurant opening? Who's going to the
smoke shop? One
of two smoke shops.
Yeah.
Straddling either side.
Yeah. Yeah. So, smoke shop. Yep. Who's that guy? Like, so another like kind of muscly guy comes out, and like he walks a different direction and then goes back to his car. So we were, watching the cars, parking and stuff. And then a guy parks his car, like pulls in, and he's got a skull on the front of the car. Like
not a human skull.
No, a deer skull.
Deer skull.
Like on the front of his car, right? Like like, what kind of car was it? I don't know that stuff.
Some older GM model, not a pickup.
Not a pickup, yeah, just older, like kind of, right? So skull attached to the front of the car, and he parks. Do you want to tell the story, or do I?
And then you said, well, I didn't actually see his shirt, but you said,
oh yeah, he's not coming in here. Yeah, what did I say?
You said, oh, his shirt says, I've got 99 problems, but. Yeah, I didn't realize it, and you said my bitch ain't one. So it's a little different. It's a variant, but I thought it was just a direct quote from that song.
But like all you saw on the shirt was bitch, and then you had to look a little closer. I got 99 problems, but my bitch ain't one.
Which now I realize is a positive message.
Maybe it was a bitch, though. Maybe I got it wrong, like because I don't know the reference.
I think it is a twit. Anyway, so and short cropped hair.
Yeah,
a goatee
gets
right?
out. So I'm like, well, he's not coming in here.
Yeah, and then he goes around into the back of the car, and he's like rummaging around in the back, and I'm like, oh man, this is it. We're gonna have some. This guy's coming in.
Guy's coming in because the people who run this are gay, right? They're two women who run it.
It's an LGBTQ. Plus positive.
There's a giant pride
and
flag on it. Yeah, there's a giant flag. So Rick's like, yeah, we better watch out.
Keep an eye on this guy.
And then I was like looking, and he's really rummaging in the back. I'm like, oh my god. And so I started getting up. Did you start getting up? I was out of my chair already. I was like, he's gonna come and shoot all of us. And then he finishes rummaging around. What does he pull out?
A baby. A little cute baby, like a fat little baby. And I was like, I'm the worst person in the world. But that's where we're at now, right? So like even me.
Yeah, you're horrible.
Mr. Open-minded and everything like that is like I'm profiling. I'm like, oh, this is it. Somebody's going to shoot up this place. is like I'm in this mindset now. I've been poisoned, right? And that's what really upset me is that I'm a bad, I'm not. Honestly, I guess I am judgy, but I don't think I'm judgy of individuals. Like if somebody says something stupid, I will judge them, right? But I don't well, no, I know everyone has their biases, right? Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not in denial, but it was just like, wow, this is a slippery slope where it's just kind of like, I've fallen. I feel like I've fallen into the cesspool with everyone else.
Well, we were. All I was thinking was he wasn't coming in here, and he didn't. He went somewhere else.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
just a dad who maybe is a hunter or something.
Yeah, he probably could have had a gun also. Maybe the
Yeah,
baby
no,
was crying.
but it
so
wasn't like he was dangerous. And
Yeah.
just total superficial judgment.
You are a terrible person. So like write that, and he thinks what Rick does is he writes, on our family WhatsApp to Dairy King to tell him, hey Graham, this is here's a story for you.
And I wish I could find this short film. I saw it years ago. I think it was on Image Union. It was amazing. I think it was done in the Union Station, like early, like maybe 80s cafeteria. And it's a woman, and it's late at night. Or no, it's just she goes to a cafeteria, right? She gets a cup of soup or something, or a salad. I don't know. And she sits at her booth, right? Then she gets up to go get a napkin, and then she walks back to her booth, and there's a large African-American man sitting at her booth with her food, and she looks at him, and then she just sort of sits down, and then he, kind of just stares at her, and then he picks up his fork and starts eating from her plate. And then she gets really freaked out, and then she starts eating from her plate, and it's like a standoff. Then he gets up and walks away, right? And then she finishes eating and gets up, and she looks over, and she sees her plate in the booth next to her.
She got in the wrong booth.
She got in the wrong booth. It's such an amazing short film. And it felt like that, where it was just like all about like assumptions, and it's like you think, oh, this is a crazy person that's come in and is taking my food and everything like that. And then you realize she's the crazy, or she comes across as the crazy person, but it was both of them, wind up, you realize they think the same thing. And then that this woman was, a prisoner of her sort of biases, right? And so that's what I thought of. What it's like a short film. It's like one of those learning moments where it's just like, I need to be more vigilant about how I think and how I see the world.
Yeah. Did you say African American man? Because Tyler here is saying you mean a black man or black. He wrote black guy, but I think we say black now with capital B, black man.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. But the food was really good, right? Food was good. It's been raining out. All right. So is that all? Are we done with that, with the under the ground Blono?
Well, we also did our fairly regular Thursday night vegan vegetarian Indian buffet. So that was quite a double header. I'm trying to eat less, and it was 2 gigantic vegan meals in a row. So
yeah, I actually made it through. All right, so Andy says that Ricky Gervais how do you say, told an almost identical story about himself.
Yeah.
So
I tried. So I was not aware. Like I remember hearing a hubbub about his stand-up a few years ago, and then like Netflix presented his new stand-up special, and I hadn't heard anything about it, so I started watching it, and I got about 2 minutes in, and I was like, "Holy cow, what's going on?" And then it was explained to me by Dairy King that the set that he was doing 2 or 3 years ago, that he finally filmed it. He's been doing this set for a while, and then he finally filmed it, and they put it on Netflix. It's just mean and it's just a joke kind of stuff. And on top of it, then the discussion behind him versus Dave Chappelle. It's like, to me, there was like some people saying they're both bad, but Ricky Gervais is just an equal opportunity offender. He doesn't actually, there's nothing to his kind of anti-trans humor, whereas Dave Chappelle really means it, right? And I was just like, what the hell's going on with that now? We're like saying we're like ranking assholes,
that was like
or
the-
inconsiderate or just out of touch comedians, and then we're like ranking them.
One of them is worse.
And you can rank them, I guess. I would rank them differently. It's like, oh, which out of touch comedians have been documented, sexual abusers or inappropriately behaving, right? So yeah, I'd rank them that way. Maybe it's like, oh, this person's worse because they're actually possibly have engaged in criminal activity, but that doesn't qualify. I don't think Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais are in that category.
You want
so
to talk
then
about
comparing the two of them, and then and giving Ricky Gervais not a pass but a half pass. It's like, oh, and then I was just like, ugh. This is getting even worse.
I was driving home and listening to the on the media with the Amber Heard and the Johnny Depp thing. Like this woman,
yeah,
like so like
so
what
amazing.
was her thing?
Yeah,
Like,
the on the media thing is worth listening to because it's a podcaster, right? Talking, kind of doing a deep dive into
what I liked was she said, "I've been what's the word, radicalized? I've been radicalized against Johnny Depp."
Yeah. Yeah, and I knew, I mean, to me, it was like, well, first off, it was a civil trial about whether or not, that was the thing, is like even, what's her name on the media didn't realize that the whole case was about a defamation thing and the op-ed she wrote in the Washington Post, right? And it's like, that's what the trial was about. It wasn't about all this other stuff. I mean, that's
the
circumstantial
trial was
or
about
whatever.
getting them both publicity.
I don't think that's the case.
No,
I think
maybe not.
it's about him going after. No, I think it's
Okay,
exactly
all right,
what
yeah.
it is. It's a guy going after his ex-wife, right? Who's saying shit about him, and a guy who's tanking his career, right? And the thing is that it's
You mean
been
tanking in his career? Is that
yeah,
what you
he's,
said?
no,
Yeah,
he's
his
tanking his career.
career. Oh, okay.
I will
All right.
put a. I like that clarification because I don't think she's responsible for his
Wait,
career taking.
just to break
I think
in-
you could argue that a 50-something guy, right, marrying someone 30 years younger than him, is in a problematic, and that's it's what it is a multimillionaire marrying a much younger woman scenario, right? It has nothing to do with acting, right? So what are those scenarios about? Yeah, great. Johnny Depp looks young and everything like that, but the reality is that that's a power thing, right? Why would a 20-something-year-old woman marry a guy Johnny Depp's age, right? Other than the fact that he has lots of money and is famous,
Yeah.
right? And so already there's a problematic power thing there. It's not, and you can talk about love and all that bullshit, right? But the reality is that regardless of what love was there, right? There's a disparity going on, a power dynamic.
This is
right?
interesting. This reminds me of when I was in the ISU Senate, Academic Senate, and we were talking about the relations. What is it? Consensual relations, like document in the in what would it be, bylaws? What is it called? Like the, just whatever
Policy.
the policy, the Illinois State University policy, and just talking about how, just describing how there would be, if there were relations between a teaching assistant and a student, or like two people who are related to each other, like seeing each other in a department or something, or somebody who might be a director and married to somebody else who's, in the same program and stuff, and yeah. Anyway.
Well, maybe I'm in denial, but I think the dynamic, like if you're a professor and you have consensual relations with a student, there's a power disparity there. I think there's a power. I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
The reason why I think it's wrong is not anything about being prudish or anything like that. It's like, there's a messed up power dynamic there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess
Anyway.
you're right though. Like you're my boss, sort of. But the thing is you're not 100% my boss, because the reality of the way our jobs are constructed, right, is that I'm tenured. It's a little more. It's not anarchy, but it's a little more democratic.
What if I was the director of the School of Music, though? That because she is totally. Well, it is a little bit more democratic, but the way that
I have power beyond, like, it's not a typical boss employee relationship where it's like it would not be like if there was some kind of problem between us, you could not threaten with firing me, right?
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to do that. You
right.
might be able to try to figure out a way to do it. There is a possibility, but it's much harder than I think it would be in a kind of private situation, like not or a non-academic situation.
Yeah, but and as far as evaluations and stuff, I don't evaluate you, but like the director of the School of Music does right now, and I think that if you were married to her, well, first I'd be jealous, and second, I don't think she would be able to evaluate you.
No.
So the policy describes who would be able to, like, it would be another director on the same level as her that would be evaluating you. But
so
anyway,
anyways,
back to Amber Heard.
Hot take.
Yeah.
So for me already, I mean, I remember reading, how long ago was that article? It's like at least 5 to 10 years ago where like, I don't actually, maybe it wasn't that long ago, but where it was just basically Johnny Depp's business managers, who had been fired. Basically, it was kind of an expose about how out of control his spending was, where it was like, they were like, okay, you can buy this island. Marlon Brando has an island. I want to buy an island. I like Marlon's island. That kind of shit is what's going on with Johnny Depp. And his business manager said, you cannot buy an island. You cannot afford to buy an island. And then it was like, I'm going to buy an island. I can buy, if Marlon can have an island, I can have an island. That kind of stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
Again, these are the business
Where was
managers.
The article?
Was it in Vanity Fair or Variety?
No?
It was a real. It was
real
reported.
article. Okay.
And you could say, oh well, these are the people that got fired, right? But this is the problem: is that Johnny Depp had this group of people who kind of guided him through his career for like decades, right? And so, in addition to that manager that testified against him, right, who basically had been working with him since 21 Jump Street, right? And then she finally, they finally, I don't know if she quit or whatever, in 2016, right? It's like she was like, I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore, right? Business managers, it sounded like it was the same dynamic. So you could say, oh, these are people who've been fired, right, by a famous person, and so they're going to be petty and jealous. But although, if you think about it, who's got more to lose, right? Someone who's in management, right? So you want to make sure, like, if you're going to tear someone down publicly, right, you either, well, I guess if you have enough money saved up, you don't have to worry about ever getting clients again. But if you're a business manager, right, business management company, right, it's not in your best interest to say this kind of stuff. But it was basically like, okay, you've got to make, what was it, 3 or 4 $20 million paychecks, movies a year, and you can have the island, right? That was the deal. And then what happened was he was making these crappy, movies, all those crappy movies, and was getting that $20 million paycheck. And then he wanted to do something that didn't pay $20 million, right? And so he screwed up the plan for each year, right, to pay for the island. And it's like, no, I want to do this indie film, right? And so that took one of the, if it was like $80 million, he had to pull in $80 million. Yeah. If he had to pull in $80 million a year, one of those movies, all of a sudden he only had $60 million and an indie film income. And then of course he's in trouble again, right? And so it sounded like he's not any different than he was when he was 18 or 20, right? He's this guy who's spending all his money. He's never developed away. It's just the zeros just keep getting added on the end, but he has no discipline. And then on top of it, there's the thing is that trial in the what is it called? The not liability, but the trial in England, right?
Oh there was something. Yeah,
the UK trial.
This podcast really details
the policy
everything.
for libel.
Yeah.
right? Or it's
He
more
couldn't
strict.
win it.
He lost it, and
lost it.
they went through and they proved so many situations because this newspaper called him a wife beater, right? And they went through and they said, oh yeah, these of the 12 instances they presented, Amber Heard's side presented, or no, so that's the thing is the newspaper. He didn't sue her in England. He sued the newspaper, right? And they had like 12 instances, and only 10 of them were valid, right? And they said, oh, these 2 aren't quite true, but yeah, he's a wife beater. They could say that because they documented it, and the laws are much stricter over there. And so there's already a documented court case, right, where
Well, that's in the old Europe, though.
yeah, in England, but it's much more difficult to do that, whereas it's a civil trial, and it was a civil trial about how she didn't even name him, right, in that.
Yeah.
He didn't sue the Washington Post, right? He sued her. And all of those elements, just say, okay, first off, the basic foundation of this is pretty shaky, and then it's just the classic.
But the thing is, it's just the way it was covered in the media and how like people have run with like this is a critique of like people like
the pooping stuff.
Yeah,
like they were just going through the pooping stuff, whereas like
she pooped on the bed.
There are texts from a year earlier where it's like her texting him saying the dog pooped on the bed and I cleaned it up, so the housekeeper doesn't have to clean it up. And then a year later it's like, oh, she pooped in the bed, and then it's like Johnny wasn't in the house.
He wasn't
staying in the house.
Right. So why would she poop on the bed?
And then she didn't tell him.
Yeah.
She didn't like send him a picture saying I just pooped in the bed or
Right.
any of that. And it's just. And
but here you hear like people are going, she pooped on the bed. She's crazy. You know.
It's kind of like and that's the cycle thing,
Yeah,
right? They were
yeah.
saying is like, why would she poop in the bed? And it's like because she's crazy. And then it's like,
well, how do you know she's crazy? Where's the documentation of her being crazy? Well, because she pooped in the bed.
And it's like, well, why would she do this if, first off, he wouldn't see it? Why didn't she tell him?
Because she's crazy.
Because she's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, why
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
crazy? Because she pooped in the bed.
Right, yeah.
Well, why would she poop in
And
the bed?
then the other thing that they
if
said,
there was no way that he would see it or
Yeah.
be impacted by it.
'Cause
And
she's
it's like,
crazy.
'cause she's crazy.
So, and I couldn't care less about any of this. Like
Either could I, right?
that's what's really upsetting. Like I saw a picture of her for the first time because I didn't know who she was, and I was like, oh, she's pretty. That's it.
Yeah. So the thing is that, well, this was the argument, is that, yeah. So a lot of the sort of what would you call it, like the liberal, progressive, or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
mainstream media,
Yeah, yeah.
was doing the same thing. It's like this is not important. We're going to talk about it when the trial's over and everything
Yeah.
like that. And again, it's that same argument, right? And so the problem is you get roped into it, but it's the argument that if you don't call people out on this, what's going to happen is that people are going to run with these crazy rumors. You're basically tearing down, it's like, oh, she's ruining me too, right? And it's like, well, no, what's happening is that we're buying into these narratives,
Yeah.
and we're waiting and we're not saying anything. And what should have been happening is like people should have been at
Right.
least.
So the first.
Well, that's the argument. Is
Yeah.
like people like us and everyone else should have been more active
We
and
should have
saying
said
things like,
yeah.
"Hey, come on, this is a rich guy who's documented, spinning out and has." And there's already been a trial where they've documented all of these abuse charges. And
Okay, so now I
Yeah.
understand why I should care about this,
Yeah.
and it's because in a vacuum, if I don't say anything, then you've got the rumors flying and stuff like that, and it's like more of the crumbling of our society.
And this is the unfortunate thing, and this is where actually talking to somebody about pop culture and everything like that, whereas like as like this kind of research and everything like that, but really this idea that these people and these famous people and all of this word of mouth, like any kind of press or like news gathering that people like us consider to be legitimate and everything like that, it's great. It's important. I support it. But the reality is that these famous people and these people who have the megaphones are defining our culture and can change it. So the thing is that, you love Johnny Depp, but you know what? I don't think Johnny Depp is on the right side.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey,
Right,
maybe. Right now,
Yeah,
I'm on his side right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
We'll see. we'll see how it
We'll
plays
see
out.
when he gets on the stage with Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle
Right.
like insults
Yeah.
gay people. All right, so the only thing that I did hear about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial was I heard something about her, like the lawyer holding up a thing of makeup and saying, "This is what I heard. This is all I heard. She wore makeup to look. She could cover her bruises with makeup." That's what he said. And then I heard like somebody zoomed in, like I heard this on the podcast. Somebody zoomed in and like contacted the makeup company saying Amber Heard used your makeup in order to cover herself up. And the makeup company said, "Well, we didn't even make that color palette wasn't available at the time that she was hurt." And it's just people like, "See, she lied." And it's like, what? Like, even I, at that point, like for the 5 minutes or the 2 minutes that I heard the guy held up the makeup palette saying that she wore makeup, I knew that he wasn't saying she wore this was the palette of makeup. Like, I knew that. How does it get so fucked up? It's
like,
because people
it's
using
like,
data.
It's like holding up a picture of the crime scene and saying, well, that's not real.
Yeah, it's just a
Right.
picture.
It's just a picture.
You're not holding up this is not a pipe.
It's not even that, though.
Yeah, man.
It's basically, but no, yeah. So it's like saying, like trying to, it's a prop, right? So I guess that's a problem.
Yeah.
But the only problem is that, yeah, that's true if it's,
I can't believe we're talking about this.
a trial where you're trying to prove things and someone says, this is the makeup she used, right? And, and you're
That's
saying
not what he said.
that she didn't do that. It's just, it's
she
a
used
civil
makeup like this.
It's a civil suit. And it's saying, you can cover up bruises with makeup, and then on top of it, if you're an actress, right, and you know makeup people, right?
Yeah.
And you know how to put on makeup, right?
Yeah,
you know,
anyway.
it's like not and it's like, see, she's a liar.
Yeah. So that's
And
like,
regardless of what opinions you have, it's just like, come on, let's be honest. And maybe she did make it all up, but the reality is also what the podcaster guy said. But I mean, this is. We say podcaster, but this is somebody, who's talked a lot about it, is keeping up with it and was on the media. So they've at least in some way been validated by one of my liberal news sources, right?
Right,
that I
exactly.
consider legitimate through NPR, right? And on top of it, who fired, one of their longtime hosts because he was it sounded like was just a complete yelly asshole all the time. And everybody working there just finally decided, you know what? I don't need to be yelled at by a 70-year-old white man every week.
I didn't realize he was that old. Anyway, yeah.
But
so
anyways, so what was I going to say about it though? I don't remember. I lost it.
Okay. Oh, what was it?
It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't even. So the thing is that they didn't have a prenup. Do you know that? So he married
Trying
this,
to
this
decipher
young
what
woman,
that means.
a prenuptial agreement,
Yeah.
right? So this rich guy, right, married this woman. And so you could say, oh, that's beautiful, right? They married for love. And then on top of it, the settlement she got was nothing near 50% of his wealth at the time they were married. So she negotiated. So the thing is that it starts looking like, if you start doing all this evidence stuff, if you want to start digging deeper, it's just kind of like, well, wait a minute. She's and the thing about the donation, right, is she made a mistake. The way she talked about it is, so she negotiated. So this is typical is when you give a large chunk of money to something like the ACLU, she said, I'm going to give this money over the course of 10 years.
$10 million or something.
$10 million over 10 years.
And usually when you get a donation, like when we got a donation at ISU, you get like it gets spread out over 5 years or something like that.
And so the ACLU said that's normal. That's what people do is they do the donation over time. And then on top of it, she said she wrote them a year ago and said, I'm not going to be able to pay right now this next installment because I'm in a lawsuit and it looks like I'm going to have to spend millions of dollars to pay for lawyers because of this lawsuit. And the ACLU said, not a problem. We understand. And so the thing is everything she's doing, right? It's like she didn't give the money to the ACLU, and it's like she started giving the money. She
lied about giving the money. Yeah, you can.
And so what it was is
data.
She said instead of saying I gave, she shouldn't have said I gave $10 million to the ACLU. What's the other word for that? I pledged.
Pledged, yeah.
Yeah. And
We're
so
just-
you have to if you want it, but again, it's not a criminal trial. It's a civil suit, right?
But this
so,
is,
so
what's
it's
even
not
worse is like you see people like talking about how terrible she is and stuff, or she was, or whatever. It's just bad.
And you know what? Yeah, but so you know what? I'm going to say that doesn't matter. When you have in a world where you have rich men and you have women who are not as rich and powerful, you know what?
The women will always lose, except for during the
so
Me Too.
Just in the same
At
way,
the end of the Me Too movement.
same way that that's the other thing that I was saying is like this, which could be flipped on its head, which is like the accusations against Bill Cosby were much older and much more circumstantial than what was documented between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and what made him lose the trial in the UK, right? It's just like, this was better evidence than what convicted Bill Cosby. But of course, somebody could say, well, yeah, why is Bill Cosby in jail then? Oh, because someone finally decided that rich men can't get away with this stuff anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's over. I guess they can again. Right. And it's entirely possible. Right. Yeah. So it's like, what if I all of a sudden become a billionaire and then someone decides to, create this fictional thing in order to get my money, but there are easier ways to do that. Right. You can just tell me to like invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Larry says she was terrible in Aquaman. So I didn't get to see Aquaman. All right. So let's move on. I'm really enjoying the Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like his accent. I like, what's the guy's name?
He apparently lost the accent. He had to work really hard to get it back.
Yeah.
He had to go back in time and try to figure out what he did 20 years ago, which to me says, of course, completely irresponsible. After I just talked about irresponsibility, which to me says that he had a conflict about his history with the franchise, and then is finally just accepting of it and is coming back and saying, yes, I will play Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though I was involved in one of the worst film atrocities.
Oh, that ruined our childhood. Can I ask you a question?
But me personally, I've been on record. There's only one Star Wars.
Can I
movie.
ask you a question? Why
Yes.
are you watching that with us?
I don't know. I like, it's a social thing, watching with the family.
Really?
I keep up to date. There might be something in there for the puzzle a few years from now that I might need to know. I won't be able to remember the name of Tatooine or what was in the puzzle for a while. Naboo, right? That showed up like 20 years ago for a while. Right? Is Naboo? What was Naboo? Is that where Princess Leia lived?
I thought that was where the
Coruscant. She's in Coruscant, right?
I thought Naboo was where the Mormons.
That's Nauvoo.
Nauvoo. Okay. We had an interview that really disturbed me this week. The interview. What was it? The Art.
It was a great interview.
It was a great
Just
interview.
on record.
Yeah, it was a fantastic interview. I love
the reason
the guy.
why it disturbed you.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the interview itself, I don't think.
So
it has to do with you.
The interviewer asked me why there were no women in rock, right? Was it, or in punk rock? Why were there less women in punk rock? Did he say in the 90s or 80s or something, or like in my scene? Yeah. And I was like, please, Rick, please answer this question. please, just answer. Because you answer anything, God, please answer it. And it was at this point.
And I refuse to do that.
At this point when Rick decides, well, because it's an impossible to answer question, unless you're like a, punk rock gender researcher. So like, oh, come on, Rick, answer. And he's like, what do you think, Rose?
I also refused to be on a panel a few years ago about hip hop, and.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like,
Well, that was good.
I'm not gonna do a hip hop.
So I'm like, well, I don't know how to answer that question, because you know what? It's like asking a fish about air. The fish doesn't know about air. The fish is in water. Like all I can
Why
say,
isn't it just asking the fish about water?
tell me about the other women I could do that. I could tell them about the other women.
Well, maybe you should turn this. So that's the thing is you just turn it around and say,
No,
well,
so
yeah.
well, so after we got, what did I say? I said well,
I can't answer the question.
I probably said that. Like I tried to answer a different question.
You started talking about computer science, which was interesting.
Yeah. I remember sitting in the like I don't know. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do it. The computer. I remember being in the computer science class. At some point and looking around and going, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 women and there's 100 men in here. Oh, wow. I didn't even realize it until like halfway through the semester.
So there's something about you. So I think it's important and it's something you should figure out. Maybe spend some time with a therapist or something, but figure out why. It's not a bad thing, but figure out why you were not constrained by
we figured it out.
Gender roles, right?
We figured it out. I just don't like the social cues. Well, when I said there's a Kim Deal quote somewhere where she says the flirting was unavailable to me. It was like she wasn't like like she wasn't all sexy on the stage because that wasn't available to her. Like that wasn't part of her dialogue.
But there's more to it though. It's like, why did you feel that you could? Right. Instead of, so there's still also, it doesn't matter that it's not simply like, oh, this is, I don't have that path of a normal, stereotypical female path in the world. Let's just say, right. Not just academia, right. In the world, I can't go on that path. On top of it, you also didn't say to yourself, well, there are no other women in computer science. You just said, oh, I'm going to do computer science now.
I like computer science.
I like computer science.
Yeah.
And the other 2 women in all the classes. And when we say, there are only 3 women in these classes, I was there too, right? We're talking about like classes of 100 people, like lectures, right?
Yeah,
so we're talking about
3%.
97% men.
Yeah, always.
And 3% women, right? We're not talking about, a class of 10 or 20, right? We're talking about like a huge
100
engineering school undergraduate lecture, right? Monster classes, right?
Yeah.
And so, you didn't. It wasn't just simply like, oh, this isn't for girls, right? And I'm not a normal girl. It's like, it's like, oh,
Rick wants me to think about like, like after we finish this, he's like, you better figure out an answer to that question.
Yeah, but also what's
why
interesting,
don't you figure
like
it out?
why you and these other 2 women, right? Which one of them you met a while ago, right? It's like, why did you think it was? Yeah, you could take that path, and what allowed you to do that? And so it wasn't culturally like there were roadblocks. You've talked about that professor. Famous computer science professor from the U of I telling you that women shouldn't be in computer science.
Well, no, just in his class. He said, I said, Professor Moroga, can you help me?
Here we go.
Can you help me with this assignment? And he said, women shouldn't be in my class. And so I dropped it because he was probably right. That's what I wrote that in my book.
Yeah. So, and so how does that translate to music also, right? And so I think part of it is in theory, indie rock. Or what were you going to say?
What? Oh, thank you.
No, you were about to say something. You were actually going to say something.
Yeah. Since you wouldn't answer the question, I just asked Ian Mackay. How would you answer this question? Or I said, am I crazy for not being able to answer this question? And he said, no, it's a stupid question. But here's something that he said that I'd never heard anybody say before. He said, I think there were plenty of women in the scene. There were tons of women in the scene.
There were. So that's...
Do you know what he said?
What?
He said, I don't think the scene was on the stage. Most of the scene was on the curb outside the show.
Interesting.
Yeah. And think about, there were plenty of women out there. Like there were women all over the place. And then I was like, because that's where all the exchange of ideas happened, right? That's where people talked and stuff like that. Like that you're discounting. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, oh, that's right, And he's like, just because the cameras are focused on the stage doesn't mean that's where the scene was.
I think it was progressing, and I think, for instance, Fugazi did a good job of opening up the audience. But I also know that those
Fugazi
early shows were
weren't
like sausage parties,
Yeah.
and indie rock shows were still, pretty pretty heavy duty sausage parties.
Well,
you know?
he did want to call attention to the fact that there were women, on the curb, like not on the curb, like, hey, baby,
Yeah, no.
like in the, I remember a lot of times sitting out there.
It was a community. It was an arts community, and it was more open. It was definitely more open than kind of traditional rock scenes, right?
Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
It's good, and so that's the thing is in perspective, it was better. It was better. The question is why again, and this is my question is why have the numbers are starting to shift, but I don't feel like they shifted that much over the past 30 years, right? So
why are there not? When he said, "Why don't you just ask how many? How come all interviewers are men or something, or how come it's mostly men?
Yeah,
how come,
yeah. So it is. It's but I think there was it was still like
it's a rough question to answer.
I mean, like I'm trying to think of the Champagne scene. Like our first couple of years, and then it started changing, right? And there were a couple of bands with women, but it was it was a rarity.
He also said it was just the way the way we were socialized, and that's what I think I was saying that too. It was just like I was saying we still, when we see a little girl and a little boy, we still ask the little boy, what are you going to study, and we ask the little girl who you're going out with, that still happens.
And I remember hearing this was always the kind of thing that I would hear in college in the 80s when there was a woman in school, or in engineering. It was like, oh, she's getting her MRS degree.
Yep.
Right. That was the
her
common,
Mrs. degree. She's looking for a.
She was
somebody
there to
tell you about? Did they say that about me?
No, I don't think so.
See, that's the thing, though. I don't I'm not like a normal woman. Like I don't,
Well, yeah, and that's the question is so what was different for you, right? Why were you different?
I didn't think I could be like a normal woman. Like that's the thing. I didn't think I could. Like
but you were motivated to do stuff. You wanted to do things. So you weren't going to do things,
different things. Yeah. But I never, never, ever, 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 ever occurred to me. Oh, I'm a woman doing this. Never. Yeah. Never. And I think I had Heidi, and speaking for Heidi here, from Mercy Rule and Barb, and Candace, I think they said kind of the same thing. They were just doing stuff. They were just playing music.
But your mom started college, at least, and then my mom went to college. Wound up being a teacher after it, though, right? Which was the only missed. She talks about that, missed some of by a couple years. The other ideas, just the idea that, there's another job after you got a college degree. You could be something else besides a teacher, right? Yeah. It was just a few years. She was a few years too early for that, right?
All right.
Although her friends, she had friends who did do that, and but it was hard. I mean, I think she said that it was just like what you were talking about, but like 20 years, 30 years earlier. Yeah. It was even harder. It was just kind of like you had to just by sheer force of will, bulldozer your way through. If you were a woman, right, and you were in an academic or a business environment, you just had to frickin' be a bulldozer, basically, because it was so much resistance. Whatever resistance you feel now, it was almost epic before that. Mm.
Okay. Anyway, Larry's asking how the book is coming. The book is done. Except I'm supposed to be indexing it.
Yeah, I believe my story. I looked up my story about the indexing, and I believe it was Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley. No.
What did you
Gore
say?
Vidal and what's his name? Norman Mailer, right?
Oh, put somebody in a. What was it? Tell me again.
He put Norman Mailer in the index, and it wrote next to it, "Hi, Norman." "Hi, Norm," or something like that, because he knew that Norman Mailer would go to the bookstore and look in his book.
That's so
cool.
And
look for himself in the index. So he just put Norman Mailer in the index to mess with him.
So I asked my two heroes, my two white male heroes, Ian Mackay and Steve Albini, to write blurbs for me on the book cover, because we needed a blurb on the book cover. We need blurbs, and so they both agreed to do it. So this is something that I talked to Ian about too. Like, I need to see the back of the book, because he said that he had written a blurb for somebody else's book and they had edited it. They had they totally took the totally contextual, took out the context,
Right.
and I was like, can you write a blurb? And that literally the blurb was supposed to be 1 sentence or 2 sentences, and you wrote 2 paragraphs, so it was like, I just found out I was only supposed to write a sentence, and I was like, yeah, I told you that. But anyway, but thank you for the he wrote these beautiful paragraphs and stuff. But man, I've got to make sure that they don't edit his blurb or get it, and they haven't. It's in the catalog. He's got a blurb in the U of I Press catalog. This for fall 2022. In my book area, there's an Ian Mackay blurb. It's awesome.
That's great.
But it has not been edited. So that I read it to him today, and he read it to me first, and then I read it back to him, and it was exactly what he had said. So thank goodness for that. But they left off Kuriki, they just said Minor Threat and Fugazi, and he had said, I think, Kuriki and Teen Idols,
and yeah, he's been in so many bands though
yeah,
too. And
yeah.
See, now you said Kuriki, and now I forgot the other one.
Evans,
yes,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so now and so I'm going to have to make sure that they don't edit his blurb on the back of the book, and I think they're really mad at me right now for arguing about how the book looks. So I'm really sorry if anybody from U of I Press is watching this. I love you guys. Please don't be angry at me.
It doesn't matter. They
It's U of I's fault. I took a typography class. I took 2 typography classes. I mean, what do you expect? It's terrible.
part of it's the way it is. It's
Yeah.
not about everything. Yeah, just
You should
you've
bring
gotta-
them something.
Yeah.
These people don't even work there. I can't even bring. I'd have to find out their addresses and mail them
And they
chocolate
don't
or
want
something.
you at their
Yeah,
house.
they probably don't.
Give them a couple months to get over it. For the next author to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I didn't I felt like I was never a pain in the. They were like, change this, and I was like, okay, I'll rewrite the book for a year. I did that. Are you guys going to see Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future this weekend?
I read a description of the film, and I was listening. I think I listened to a review, and I could barely listen to the review. So no, I will not be seeing it. I'm squeamish,
You wuss.
and
Well, I wonder if Emma and Derek King are going.
yeah, I don't know. I can't. Even the descriptions, I can barely. It basically sounds like to me like the last scene of Dead Ringers, which I'm not happy even visualizing in my mind, and to think that there's going to be that much. Yeah, I can barely. Yeah, so I think he's a great artist, but I really I can't watch it.
So there's your answer. Are you going, Larry? You can write it.
Maybe the fellas in the band can take you to go see it.
I'm
We
not
saw
going to see it.
Existenz as a band.
Oh yeah, we loved
But
that.
that's only slightly upsetting, where he's pulling the tooth out of his shoulder, and with the food itself. That
The food was good. Oh, what
that
about
put
all
me off, and cutting open the
what about all the vaginas?
organic devices.
Yeah, organic.
Or organic.
You mean vaginas?
No, the sea creatures or the lake or pond creatures.
Oh
that they
yeah,
cut
yeah,
open
yeah.
to build.
Yeah. See, I swear to God that there is a reference in Obi-Wan Kenobi to that, because it looks so much like that Cronenberg Existenz.
The meat packing.
Any way to
plants
find out if that's, because it really looks
who
like.
directed it? I mean Cronenberg's. Yeah.
So we have a Salaryman show coming up, and I'm making T-shirts for it.
Oh, you'll get one tomorrow.
We're playing tomorrow.
Present time.
Yeah.
In Tolono.
In Tolono at Matt Talbot's beautiful Loose Cobra, right?
Yeah,
I haven't
bar.
seen Matt forever.
Yeah. And then we'll be playing Make Music Normal on the 25th of June. Free in the round. Well, I don't know if it's in the round. In the outside.
It's
Bar and
probably across from La Bamba.
And then Japan House in July.
Yeah. Like Howie was saying that we should make a T-shirt, like tour shirt. I could do that. Well, I'll make one for him. All the four coasts of Central Illinois. The Japan House. I was just there, and it's beautiful. The grounds are so beautiful. Everything's grown a little bit taller than when I remembered it, and I walked around and I thought about my Professor Doyle Moore and stuff. It's very nice.
All right.
Well, there you've listened to you've wasted another hour of listening to Rick and Rose talk.
I'm looking at the live stream feed, and my hat has been at a much too jaunty angle probably for the whole time, and I'm really upset, and I'm going to have to take off these headphones and adjust it. So we've got to end the show.
Danny is asking if Ian included Embrace.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Egg Hunt.
Yeah, he's like a million different...
How many? Yeah, Palehead? What about Palehead?
What about him?
Oh, I love that record.